one of Minnesota Vikings Minicamp has just wrapped up, and coming up on today's show, I'm going to go over 5 takeaways that I noticed from the first Minicamp session for your Minnesota Vikings. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. But before we dive into the takeaways, I actually wanted to share a quote from Justin Jefferson's press conference before Minicamp got underway when he was talking about potential new franchise quarterback J.J. McCarthy. This is what Jettas had to say. He said, "A new energy, a new soul. I love his confidence. I love his attitude. Of course, with him coming off a championship, you can't have any more confidence than that. That confidence is going to continue to be with him, and it's my job to install that into his brain throughout the whole entire season, and of course, giving him that extra confidence by throwing me the ball." I have goosebumps right now reading out that quote to you guys, and I am just so ready for week one. Most likely, J.J. McCarthy will not be the quarterback for Minnesota Vikings when they travel to MetLife Stadium and take on the Giants, but just hearing Jefferson talk about, his new potential franchise quarterback in that certain way, it just gets me fired up for the future for our favorite football team here. So if you guys are excited for real Vikings football just as much as I am, I want to flood the chat with a bunch of skulls, make it look like US Bank Stadium on game day as, man, I just can't wait. I just can't wait for Vikings football to be back in full action. So give me a skull down in the comment section. I'll show you guys some love down there as well. But minicamp takeaways from day number 1 is J.J. McCarthy. He looks sharp. And I do want to preface this point that Sam Darnold also looked very good as well, and we'll dive into him a little bit more here in a second. But J.J. McCarthy, he had a couple throws that I saw on Twitter. Looked really solid. Just his overall delivery and just his overall mantra and how he handles himself out there on the football field. He truly does feel like a franchise quarterback. And, he actually wasn't even taking quarterback 2 reps today. He was actually taking quarterback 3 reps behind Sam Darnold and Nick Mullins. So it seems like the Vikings are not even going to rush this process one bit. Even dating back to rookie minicamp, OTAs, the Vikings are going to really elongate this process of just developing J.J. McCarthy, and that is why I think it is more likely than not that J.J. McCarthy does not play a single snap for the Vikings this season, and I could actually see a situation where he is quarterback 3 for most of the season behind Nick Mullins and Sam Darnold. But let's talk about Sam Darnold here because he has looked great, man, and I don't want to put too much into, OTAs and minicamp, but Sammy D is looking the part, no doubt about it, throughout this process so far. And, if you guys date back to, his time with the Carolina Panthers, his time with the San Francisco 49ers, New York Jets, he has actually always looked good in OTAs, in minicamp. It just always came down to when he's actually out there on the football field, can he translate that to the real game, atmosphere? So that question is still up in the air. But Sam Darnold, he is looking the part. He actually had this sweet throw when they were just going through some drills. He hit Justin Jefferson on a deep post, and it just looks smooth. His throwing motion is super smooth, puts great touch on the football. So, even though a lot of the hype is around J.J. McCarthy, and he looked good today during day 1, Sam Darnold, at still only 26 years old, I am very, very excited to see what he has to, deploy for our Minnesota Vikings. Maybe he leads us to the playoffs. Maybe he ends up making a Pro Bowl. We'll obviously have to wait and see on that one. But takeaway number 2, there's a lot of talk about the left guard spot. Will it be Dalton Risner? Will it be Blake Brandel? Well, today, Blake Brandel was the starting left guard for the Minnesota Vikings, and I was not really too shocked by this. We heard the Vikings offensive line coach Cupper, come out and say how, impressed he's been with Brandel. Even, we shared a quote early on this week about Wes Phillips talking about Blake Brandel as how he has just, been absolutely turning heads. And with that 6'7", 315-pound frame, if he could end up being a solid starting, offensive guard in this league, he would honestly be my choice over Dalton Risner because Garrett Bradbury, he is a smaller center. I just think it makes a whole lot more sense to put bigger and more physical guards next to him. Not saying Dalton Risner is not that, but Blake Brandel is just a bigger, player and body than Risner. And also Ben Gessling tweeted out the contract details of Dalton Risner's deal he did sign with the Vikings, and it is a whole lot more less than I thought. Dalton Risner got a $1.41 million base, $600,000. That's it. guaranteed. Came with the $500,000 signing bonus and a $500,000 roster bonus. So in totality, that adds up to $2.41 million. So, right now as it stands for the Vikings, even though Dalton Risner is getting paid, only $2.41 million, I still think, he has an outside chance to start at left guard, but as it stands right now, it will be Blake Brandel. Now let's kick it to Ivan Pace, UDFA from last season. Kevin O'Connell was absolutely raving about this guy during his press conference from day one, and I am just excited to see Pace out there in his sophomore campaign, considering how impressive he did look in his rookie campaign. And also, if you guys don't know, he's going to be rocking the number 0 yet again. He wore this in college during his senior year at Cincinnati when he had 22.5 tackles for loss. And, we know Marcus Davenport did have that, or he was rocking that number last season. So it's great to see Ivan Pace rocking the number 0. Just him wearing the green dot, I think is going to be absolutely awesome, and rocking that number 0 as well. So Ivan Pace, he's looking the part. Kevin O'Connell was just raving about this guy, just, talking about his development, heading into year 2. So him and Blake Cashman will be manning the linebacker group for Minnesota, and I just fully expect big things for the Minnesota Vikings. But a huge key note here. So Kevin O'Connell, during his press conference from day one, hinted that N'Keal Harry will be switching to tight end. And this is one of those things where I completely forgot about N'Keal Harry, frankly, being even an option as a pass catcher for the Vikings, just considering how loaded this wide receiver room is. But he's starting to get some reps at the tight end position, and, I actually don't hate it at all. I'll give you guys more thoughts on N'Keal Harry switching the tight end here in a second. But first off, I want to give a big-time shout-out to today's sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. Head over to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS, and we'll hook you guys up with a first deposit match up to $100. That is first deposits into your account. Use promo code CLNS, and we will match it up to $100. With PrizePicks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 by watching a single game this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. There's actually a lineup I created for the NBA Finals getting underway this Thursday, where they have a deal going on with Jason Tatum point total at half a point. I'm going to be taking the more on that, obviously. Then Luka Doncic. He has been hot. He obviously killed our Minnesota Timberwolves, so I think he's going to go in the TD Garden and kill them as well. So I'm going to take the more on 31.5 points there. Then also I'm going to take the more on Derek Lively, 16.5 points, rebounds, and assists. But hey, if you guys want to fade those picks or ride with those picks, we just suggest you guys do so at PrizePicks. And even when the finals are over, the hoops action doesn't stop on PrizePicks. Women's basketball is just getting started, and with young stars like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves alongside greats like Breanna Stewart and Asia Wilson, you can win up to 100 times your money by watching them ball out. So check them out, prizepicks.com/CLNS, and use that promo code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that simple. It's PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Yeah, so Kevin O'Connell, I was just tuning into his press conference where the Vikings went live on Twitter, and I just tuned in, and Kevin O'Connell just casually threw out that N'Keal Harry is working with the tight ends, and I was like, where has this news been all offseason? I kind of viewed it as, not obviously breaking news where it's going to change the Minnesota Vikings, but I was just sitting there thinking oh, wow, N'Keal Harry is going to be playing tight end for Minnesota this upcoming year, and he was talking about the injury to TJ Hawkinson and why this makes a whole lot of sense for N'Keal Harry. Josh Oliver, he is a prototypical blocking tight end. He can catch the ball. He does have, some improvement there, especially dating back to last season. But you got Robert Tonyan that's going to be in there, Nick Muse, Johnny Mundt. Now you add N'Keal Harry to this group. The Vikings got a whole lot of pass catchers in this department, and O'Connell did hint at, a lot of reps being available for this group, and specifically N'Keal Harry. And let me look this up real quick. N'Keal Harry, I'm pretty sure he's 6'4". I want to say around 230 pounds. Yeah, so N'Keal Harry, 6'4", 225 pounds. Could he be a guy that's just a red zone threat, and you could run out maybe him, Oliver, and Hawkinson, get super big, but have two of those guys be elite pass catchers. I don't know. I just think it just adds, more versatility to this Vikings pass catching group. But number 5, and we'll share some quotes on this, is Justin Jefferson starts hot, man. And, just watching him, walk out onto the practice field and hearing him in his press conference, like, it is a totally different Justin Jefferson than we're seeing in years past. I think with Kirk Cousins out of the organization, Jefferson is taking on more of a leadership role, and you can just tell by the way he's just carrying himself and just everything he's been saying. And Kevin O'Connell said this. He said Justin Jefferson got off to a great start today, and he said he is in great shape and dialed in. And that last part I thought was most interesting, dialed in, because when I was listening to the Justin Jefferson press conference with, Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah both there, he just looked like he was taking on more of a leadership role. And this photo is actually from the press conference today. Jefferson holding up that jersey and smiles all across the board for the big Vikings 3, showing up there right now. But, Jefferson just felt like more of a leader. He felt like he was taking on that leadership role, and it felt like he wanted it. And that's why I always made this argument on why I would pay Jefferson the amount they did is I don't necessarily think a quarterback nowadays, has to be the face of the franchise. You look at teams like the Bills and the Chiefs and, even like the Chargers, Bengals, like who all have these big-time franchise quarterbacks. Yes, I totally understand that. But I think every situation is different. I think in the Vikings situation, Jefferson just makes a perfect face to the franchise. So, listening to him, it just put a smile on my face, just seeing, how he has developed, so far throughout his NFL career from going from the young guy, taking, notes from Kirk Cousins, and now it looks like he'll be the one giving the notes to a guy like J.J. McCarthy. But Kwesi also said this about the move. He said this move was something that was foundational to everything that we're going to be as a team this season and going forward. And I said that on a video earlier today. Justin Jefferson is the entire Vikings offense. I compared him to Cooper Kupp, what he does with the Sean McVay offense. Very similar. And, hey, Cooper Kupp won a freaking Super Bowl MVP. Maybe the same thing could be, happening for 8-team himself. But I do want to get to this. So Kevin O'Connell, and shout out to Mike Florio. Kevin O'Connell, somebody asked him about the Justin Jefferson trade talk, and he kind of threw a shot at some of these, reporters out there who said that the Vikings were considering trading Justin Jefferson, and I, came up on here and I said it's complete BS, and, it turned out to be so, because he said there was not one time that was discussed among leadership. I'm telling you. It was June 1st, Mike Florio, Charlie Walters, whoever it may be, they needed a story, and they decided to throw out there the Vikings took calls on Justin Jefferson. I'm sure teams hit up Minnesota and said, hey, would you be willing to give up 18 to move up in the draft? And I'm just sure the Vikings sat there and they hung up the phone, but they spun that into saying, oh, the Vikings were actively shopping Jefferson because they knew that would get headlines. Kevin O'Connell shut it down, and it makes me happy that the Vikings did not even consider that because that would have been catastrophic, in my opinion. But let me know, guys, what player are you most excited to watch play for your Minnesota Vikings this season? If I had to pick one, I would do a guy we talked about today. I'll go Ivan Pace Jr. rocking the number 0. That's who I'll say is who I'm most excited to watch play this season. But you guys let me know down below in the comment section. And guys, I'm going to be tweeting about Vikings Minicamp all throughout the next couple of weeks. So give me a follow on Twitter or X. Handle right there at Pat Sieps. And I'll give you guys a follow back. Would really appreciate it. But thank you guys so much for watching. See y'all next time. Skol Vikes.